The wrench slipped from Maya's trembling fingers, clattering against the concrete floor. Her supervisor stood over her, clipboard in hand, shaking his head. "Pack your tools. We can't have someone who can't keep up." The other mechanics looked away as she gathered her belongings, her prosthetic leg catching on the toolbox. 3 years later, Maya stood in the gleaming paddock at Monaco, watching her creation cross the finish line first. The champagne sprayed across the winner's podium as the Formula One world champion held up the trophy. The camera panned to the pit crew, but Maya stepped back into the shadows. The reporter approached, microphone ready. "We need to speak with the engineer behind this miracle machine." Maya took a deep breath and stepped forward. "What country are you watching from? Let me know in the comments, and if these stories inspire you, feel free to subscribe." Maya Chen had always heard the hum of engines in her dreams. Even as a child, lying in her hospital bed after the accident that took her left leg, she would close her eyes and imagine the perfect symphony of pistons and gears. The doctors said she was lucky to be alive. Her parents said she was brave. But Maya knew the truth. She was simply stubborn. The garage where she worked after technical college smelled of motor oil and broken dreams. Hayes Automotive specialized in fixing what others had given up on, and Maya found comfort in that philosophy. She arrived each morning before dawn, her prosthetic clicking softly against the floor as she arranged her tools with mathematical precision. Her colleagues tolerated her presence, but she felt their sideways glances when she needed the hydraulic lift instead of crawling under cars. She heard their whispered conversations about accommodation costs and liability issues. Maya absorbed it all, channeling every slight into her work. She became the best diagnostic mechanic they had, solving problems that stumped engineers with decades more experience. The morning everything changed started like any other. Maya was deep under the hood of a vintage Porsche, her fingers reading the engine like Braille, when Tom Hayes stormed across the garage floor. His face was red, and the monthly reports shook in his hands. "Chen!" His voice echoed off the metal walls. "Conference room. Now." The fluorescent lights flickered overhead as Maya sat across from her boss and HR representative. The woman's smile was practiced, professional, cold. "Maya, we've been reviewing productivity metrics and workshop efficiency ratings." The words blurred together. Budget constraints, optimization requirements. Maya's prosthetic suddenly felt heavier, more noticeable. She watched Tom's mouth move, explaining how they needed mechanics who could hit the ground running, without special considerations. "It's nothing personal," the HR woman added, sliding a severance package across the table. "We're just streamlining operations." Maya's hands remained steady as she signed the papers, but inside, something fundamental cracked. 26 years old, and the world was telling her she wasn't enough. Again, the apartment felt smaller that night. Maya sat at her kitchen table, surrounded by rejection letters from other garages. Each one cited different reasons: overqualified, not the right fit, position filled, but she recognized the real message. She pulled out her laptop and began scrolling through job listings, her determination flickering like a dying engine. Then she saw it. A small advertisement tucked between corporate listings. Vintage race car restoration project seeks innovative engineer. Unconventional backgrounds welcome. Contact Elena Rodriguez. Maya stared at the screen. Elena Rodriguez. Even casual racing fans knew that name. Formula One's first female team principal, who had disappeared from the spotlight 5 years ago after a devastating season. Rumors swirled about where she'd gone, what she was doing, why she'd walked away from the pinnacle of motorsport. The email Maya sent was simple, direct. She attached her technical certifications, her diagnostic records from Hayes, and a single sentence: "I solve problems others can't." The response came within hours. An address in the mountains, 2 hours outside the city. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Bring your tools. The winding road carved through pine forests, leading to a compound hidden behind tall gates. Maya's old Honda struggled with the elevation, but she pressed forward, her heart hammering against her ribs. This felt like stepping off a cliff, trusting in wings she wasn't sure she possessed. Elena Rodriguez answered the door herself. Smaller than Maya had imagined, with silver threading through her dark hair and motor oil stains on her fingers. Her eyes held the sharp focus of someone who saw solutions where others saw impossibilities. "You're younger than I expected," Elena said, looking Maya up and down. "And you brought a lot of tools. I don't know what you need fixed." Elena smiled for the first time. "Everything." The workshop stretched across what had once been an aircraft hangar. In the center sat 3 cars in various stages of restoration: a 1960s Formula One machine, a prototype sports car, and something Maya didn't recognize, sleek and silver under dusty covers. "My husband collected them," Elena explained, running her hand along the Formula One car's nose cone. "Antonio always said these machines held memories, dreams. After he died, I brought them here. Thought I might bring them back to life." Maya knelt beside the Formula One car, her trained eye cataloging years of neglect. The engine bay was a puzzle of corroded parts and seized components, but underneath the decay, she could see the engineering brilliance, the perfect marriage of power and precision that had once dominated racetracks. "What happened to the team?" Maya asked, not looking up from the engine. Elena was quiet for a long moment. "We lost everything. The championship, our funding, our reputation. Antonio's designs were ahead of their time, but the technology wasn't ready. We were called dreamers, failures. He died believing he'd wasted his life chasing impossible speeds." Maya's fingers traced the intricate manifold design. Even corroded, she could see the innovation in every curve. "This isn't impossible. It's just early." Something shifted in Elena's expression. She pulled the cover off the silver car, revealing lines that seemed to flow like liquid metal. This was his final design, the one nobody wanted to build. The car was unlike anything Maya had ever seen. It represented a leap forward in aerodynamics, in engineering philosophy. Looking at it was like glimpsing the future of motorsport. "What do you need from me?" Maya asked. "I need you to prove them wrong." The work began the next morning. Maya moved into the small cottage on the property, transforming her life around the rhythm of restoration. Each day brought new challenges, parts that no longer existed, technologies that predated modern systems, engineering problems that required creative solutions. Elena worked beside her, their partnership developing without words. The older woman's experience complemented Maya's fresh perspective, her institutional knowledge balanced by Maya's willingness to question everything. They rebuilt engines from memory, fabricated parts from scratch, solved problems that should have required teams of specialists. Maya's prosthetic, which had made her a liability at Hayes Automotive, became an asset in the confined spaces of race car cockpits. She could reach areas other mechanics couldn't access, maintain balance in positions that would strain able-bodied workers. Her different perspective led to innovative solutions, approaching old problems from new angles. Months passed like days. The Formula One car roared to life first, its restored engine singing with mechanical perfection. The prototype followed, purring with quiet power. But the silver car remained Elena's obsession, Antonio's final statement to the world. He wanted to build something that would change everything. Elena explained one evening as they worked late, not just faster but fundamentally different. A car that would make the sport safer, more exciting, more accessible. Maya studied the aerodynamic profiles, the revolutionary suspension geometry. "It's brilliant, but you need a team to build it properly. Fabrication specialists, aerodynamics experts." Elena looked up from her calculations. "What if we don't build it for Formula One?" The idea crystallized slowly. Formula One had rejected Antonio's vision, but other racing series existed. Smaller championships where innovation was welcomed, where a brilliant design could prove itself before attracting bigger attention. They entered the European GT Championship with the silver car, now designated the AR1 in Antonio's honor. Maya had rebuilt the engine 3 times, each iteration more powerful and reliable than the last. Elena secured a young driver, Carlos Mendez, hungry and talented, willing to trust his career to an unknown car from an unknown team. The first race weekend was a disaster. The car was fast but unpredictable, the revolutionary suspension design creating handling characteristics no driver had experienced. Carlos spun off the track twice during practice, and Maya watched their dreams disintegrating in real time. That night, she found Elena sitting alone in the garage, staring at the damaged car. "Maybe they were right," Elena whispered. "Maybe we're just chasing ghosts." Maya had heard those words before, in different forms, from different voices. The doctors who said she'd never walk normally, the counselors who suggested realistic career paths, the garage owner who called her a liability. Antonio wasn't wrong, Maya said, settling beside her mentor. "His timing was just early. But we're here now, and the technology exists. We just need to bridge the gap between his vision and today's reality." They worked through the night, reimagining the suspension system, finding the compromise between innovation and practicality. Maya's diagnostic skills proved crucial, reading the car's behavior like a complex mechanical patient, identifying the symptoms and treating the underlying causes. The breakthrough came during the second race weekend. The modified suspension transformed the car's behavior, turning its revolutionary design from a liability into an advantage. Carlos won the first race by 30 seconds, lapping half the field. The racing world took notice. Major manufacturers began calling. Formula One teams sent scouts. Elena fielded offers that would have made them wealthy beyond imagination. But Maya watched her mentor's face during those conversations, saw the conflict between vindication and integrity. "They want to buy the design," Elena explained after hanging up from yet another call. "Offer me more money than Antonio and I ever dreamed of. But they want to change it, make it conventional, safe." Maya understood. The AR1 wasn't just a race car, it was a statement about possibility, about refusing to accept limitations others imposed. Selling it would validate Antonio's genius, but compromise his vision. "What if we don't sell?" Maya asked. "What if we prove it works first?" The path to Formula One required 3 championship wins in lower series. Maya and Elena built a team around the AR1, attracting engineers and mechanics who shared their philosophy of innovation over convention. Each victory brought more attention, more offers, more pressure to compromise. But Maya had learned something during her journey from fired mechanic to championship-winning engineer. True success wasn't about proving others wrong, it was about proving yourself right. Every problem she solved, every limitation she overcame, every victory their team achieved reinforced a fundamental truth. Conventional wisdom was just the starting point, not the destination. The Formula One debut came 3 years after that first meeting in Elena's hangar. The AR1 had evolved, incorporating lessons from dozens of races, hundreds of hours of development. Maya stood in the Monaco paddock, watching their creation line up on the starting grid among machines worth millions of dollars, built by teams with centuries of combined experience. She thought about Tom Hayes, about the HR representative with her practiced smile, about every voice that had told her she wasn't enough. But those thoughts held no anger anymore, only gratitude. Their rejection had forced her to find a different path, one that led to something far greater than fixing other people's broken cars. Carlos took the lead on lap 12, the AR1's revolutionary aerodynamics allowing him to slice through traffic with surgical precision. Maya monitored the telemetry from the pit wall, her prosthetic steady against the concrete barrier, her heart racing faster than the engines screaming past. The victory felt inevitable and impossible simultaneously. As Carlos crossed the finish line, Elena grabbed Maya's hand, tears streaming down both their faces. They had done it, not just won a race, but validated a vision, proved that innovation and determination could overcome any obstacle. Later, as the champagne dried on their clothes and the crowds dispersed, Maya and Elena stood together in the quiet garage. The AR1 sat gleaming under the fluorescent lights, its bodywork scarred by the race but its spirit intact. "Antonio would be proud," Elena said softly. Maya nodded, running her hand along the car's nose cone. She had started this journey looking for a job, for acceptance, for a chance to prove she belonged. Instead, she had found something far more valuable, a purpose that transcended personal validation. The next morning, Maya's phone buzzed with a text message. Tom Hayes, from the garage that had fired her 3 years earlier. The message was brief. "Saw the race. Wondering if you'd consider consulting work. We have some problems that need your kind of thinking." Maya smiled and deleted the message without responding. She had problems of her own to solve. The AR2 was already taking shape in her mind, incorporating lessons from their Monaco victory, pushing boundaries even further. Elena found her in the workshop that afternoon, sketching aerodynamic profiles on a whiteboard. Planning the future? Planning the next impossible thing? Maya corrected. They worked together in comfortable silence, mentor and student, dreamer and builder, 2 women who had refused to accept the limitations others tried to impose. Outside, the world continued its relentless pace, full of voices saying things couldn't be done, shouldn't be attempted, weren't worth the risk. Inside their hangar, surrounded by the scent of motor oil and the promise of untested possibilities, Maya Chen continued solving problems others couldn't imagine. Her prosthetic clicked softly against the concrete floor, keeping time with the rhythm of innovation, the heartbeat of dreams made real. The disabled mechanic who had been fired for not keeping up was now setting the pace for an entire sport, and she was just getting started.